I've got fond memories of passing the time as a kid painting by numbers, so now that I make my pocket money cleaning cars on camera, thought why not try detailing by numbers, so stay tuned to see me do just that with a brand new numbered range from Blask. Now, while the Blask brand itself might be new to market, its parent company Reno, a window and paint protection film manufacturer, certainly isn't. And it's their automotive industry expertise that ultimately helped develop this range to the point it was officially launched at SEMA, subsequently partnered up with wide-body big dog RWB, and is presently available for US purchase through their dedicated Amazon store. But before you head over there via the links below, let me first put the 13 new products to ordered use on this stunning speedster body Boxster to try and give you a good idea of which ones might numerically tickle your car's fancy. So Blask's most potent product was first to be sampled, but being pH neutral, I was happy to put the Iron Cleanse to use on the 19-inch 10-pot wheels of this Porsche, which, being snazzy enthusiast type items, weren't deeply ingrained with brake dust, but still likely hadn't been treated to an active chemical like this since either being fitted or refurbished. Plus, I figured if this stuff could serve to pull contamination out from seemingly clean wheels, which in this case, after being generously applied and left to soak for a couple of minutes, it could, then it'd presumably do an even more effective job on neglected run-of-the-mill ones. It was then thoroughly rinsed off at moderate pressure to remove the now discoloured contamination. And while I didn't treat this car's gorgeous metallic green paintwork to a dedicated Iron Cleanse, did spray the parent's comparatively flat white daily driven loser cruiser down with it a few days later, just to show the extent to which this stuff will freely light up in the presence of more substantial iron-based contamination. So back to the Porsche rims for Blask product number 2, a foaming wheel cleanser which has been specifically formulated for use on tyres as well as wheels. And while you don't have to be quite as generous with your application as I tend to be with my complimentary samples, I'd rather over-apply and give unfamiliar products the best shot at performing in the moment, rather than be unnecessarily frugal and wonder why they didn't do the job. But either way, once applied, the foam was then thoroughly agitated over with a few different brushes which had been primed with some of Blask's cleanse shampoo, which I'll properly get into in a bit, to ensure the various nooks, crannies and cutouts were adequately accessed, as well as grab a few nice shots for the video, as being such a prominent part of the car wouldn't have felt right skirting over them because they were relatively clean to begin with. But saying that, I had spotted some unsightly centrifugal smears on the polished lips that neither the iron or wheel cleanse products seemed to want to shift, so thought an impromptu application of product number 3, a dedicated bug cleanser, might do the job, as in my experience they tend to be good at dissolving all kinds of gummy or rubbery residue, which this appeared to be. So after being treated and left to soak for a moment, the affected areas were both brushed over and finger fettled, which did the trick and served to illustrate the need to be flexible with product selection on the fly, as dirt doesn't unfortunately always contaminate in predictable fashion. With the wheels out the way, and while I still had the dedicated bug cleanser to hand, went ahead and applied it directly to the few obvious spots of insect splatter that the Speedster was sporting following a recent Trans-Pennine trip, before spraying the front end in general over to give the specialised enzymes the product boasts the opportunity to do what other chemicals generally can't, prior to thoroughly pressure rinsing it off, being careful not to cross-contaminate any of the untouched rearward parts with enzyme suffused overspray. Number 4 in the new lineup was Blask's Base Shampoo, a sudsy pH-neutral pre-cleaning snow foam product designed to loosen and remove light dirt and debris prior to surfaces being contact washed. So now that the wheels and the front end have been stripped back, the rest of the car, excluding the fabric top, was blanketed over with thick foam to encapsulate any dry, gritty grime that you wouldn't want being physically drawn back and forth over the surface. Judging the efficacy of a snow foam within an uncontrolled environment isn't easy, as even the best formulations don't offer a huge amount of standalone cleaning power. Plus, how well they perform in large part comes down to the hardware they're being pumped through. But all I can say is this new base shampoo, which comes in 1 litre form, so when mixed at 1 to 10 in a 1 litre foam lance, should provide 10 solid sud sessions, seem to foam up, dwell and rinse off as well as any other snow foam product I've used before, and so would have no issues using it for light pre-cleaning duties again, whether that be on this car, my own car or somebody else's. Now that the upscaled Speedster had been adequately pre-cleaned, I could get going with Blask's number 5 Cleanse Shampoo, methodically working the fiberglass panels over it by microfiber mitted hand to relatively gently remove any remaining light dirt. Its highly concentrated formula won't degrade any previously applied protection, and so offers the best of both worlds from a regular maintenance cleaning perspective. And while it's obviously best not to wash a car or do any kind of cleaning for that matter under the sun's direct rays, I had no choice but to crack on here, as it was the only dry day forecast for a week. But I think, as I've said before, if I can make unfamiliar products work in unfavourable conditions on cars I've never cleaned before, then you shouldn't have any problems getting to grips with them as recommended on familiar motors. Much like with the snow foam that went before it, this new Cleanse Shampoo felt like a more well-established and dependable product, and genuinely doubt I'd be able to tell the difference in a blind test, so would definitely recommend giving it a go, or at least getting it on your wish list if you're in the market for a quality bottle of frothy plonk. The cleanse suds were then thoroughly rinsed off before they had a chance to fully dry on the surface, as was the fabric top, so it could be given a quick brush wash just to ensure it didn't let the side down, as while it ideally needed a full strip back and reproof, didn't really have the time or dedicated products for that here. Before that was thoroughly rinsed out with the pressure washer one last time, prior to the car being dried off with a handful of dedicated drying towels to get things to a point I could continue on with the rest of the remaining Blask products, which there was a fair few of, so had no time to waste. With everything clean and dry, it was then time to dress the tyres with the number 6 Tyre Perfect product, a thick, hydrophobic and long-lasting dressing designed to thoroughly replenish naked tyres that have ideally been chemically stripped back with the foaming wheel cleanser. I mostly applied it with a contoured foam applicator sponge here, but did follow up with a brush, as applicators can often miss the edges of the tread channels, and while you can by all means buff things back afterwards to leave a more subtle factory finish, I think a more glossy one complemented the polished rims of this particular car, and so had no reservations about evenly applying it, and aside from wiping away any overspill from said polished rims, simply letting it sit. But regardless of personal preference, I've always been of the opinion that you do need to have a thicker, more glossy product like this in your arsenal, for when lighter water-based dressings just won't cut the rubber replenishing mustard. Number 7 and 8 in the Blask range are interior cleaning products, so for the time being at least we'll be skipping them in favour of the number 9 body exfoliator, which is designed to simultaneously deep clean, decontaminate and enhance. While I'm sure you could use it to polish in a more all-encompassing fashion, its compound formulation and smaller 250ml bottle suggest to me that it's probably best suited for spot treating imperfections in more targeted fashion, so that's what I did for the most part here, directly applying it onto the surface of the scuff, scratch or blemish before spreading it over, then thoroughly working in every which way with a microfiber applicator pad to give my elbow grease driven job a bit more bite. Blask recommends you rewash and re-rinse the area afterwards to remove any stubborn residue. However, I didn't realistically have the time to do that, so chose to just wipe the treated area over with a damp shampoo primed and thoroughly wrung out towel prior to final buffing with a fresh dry one instead, which thankfully seemed to work fine and isn't a big deal if you're only spot polishing, but if you're compounding larger areas it's worth keeping in mind as it will add another stage to the enhancement process. But either way, the discoloured microfiber pad proved that the product certainly served to exfoliate this seemingly clean paintwork, and while it's not always easy to catch on camera, the imperfections worked over with it here definitely looked a lot better in the flesh, so we'll be keeping this to hand for further use. So with the car as clean and part enhanced as I could realistically get it within a single session multi-product test, figured it was as good a time as ever to give Blask's dedicated protection products some screen time, starting with their classic paste wax, which, while the most expensive product in the range, does boast a unique blend of natural carnauba, silicon dioxide and graphene, so in terms of shine per dime should still deliver. I applied it with a simple sponge applicator pad here, dabbing then spreading it over the section to be treated primarily in circular fashion, but also in a manner that more naturally followed the contours of the car. However, I don't think exact application technique makes a whole lot of difference when it comes to working with slick, non-abrasive protective products, and it's more about doing what feels natural in order for you to achieve nice uniform coverage in the moment. With no specific drying time recommended by Blask, I buffed the hybrid wax off with a clean fresh towel pretty much as soon as it had been laid down, which despite half the car having not been properly exfoliated and so still remaining a little rough to the touch, was an absolute breeze to do, and that along with its addictive fresh scent really endeared me to it, as working outside exposed to the elements don't really have time for finicky products, but this felt pretty foolproof to me, so would definitely recommend it to anyone else who wants to experience modern detailing blends without the need for hermetically sealed environments. Number 12 represents Amazon's choice product, and with carnauba SiO2 graphene plus a dash of Renault's nano coating technology, why wouldn't it? The graphene water, which I think is a great name for a modern quick detailer type product, is designed to be spread over the surface with a sufficiently primed towel before being buffed off to a slick, residue free high shine, which is what I did for the most part here. But I also like to spritz new products directly onto the surface to see how they look and behave in raw form, plus along with things like just using a single towel for both application and removal, using too much or too little product, assess whether doing so will impede usability. As if it doesn't, which in this case it didn't, I'll award an extra foolproof point and can let you know that even if you get a bit cack-handed with the product or forget to stick to its script, should still be able to easily achieve a cracking finish. And while I could have happily worked the entire car over with this graphene water, had another exterior spray to give a go, and so had to intentionally leave at least a few areas untreated for that. So while the graphene water is the Amazon choice product, number 13, the Sleek Perfect, is the official bestseller. So I was eager to get to grips with it on the remaining untreated parts of the Porsche to see exactly why. It boasts what Blask refers to as optimised fusion technology, which apparently includes the use of titanium to help form a strong bond with the lacquer, but despite a different formulation felt just as easy to work with as what went before. And while I thought that had left things feeling slick, this took the surface friction coefficient to a whole new low level. But it wasn't just the silly slickness that impressed me, but also the new dimension it added to the already stunning looking metallic green paintwork. However, with that having pretty much been buffed to within an inch of its fiberglass foundation life, thought I'd finish up the exterior product roundup by Sleek perfecting the equally stunning looking wheels. So went ahead and spritzed, spread and gently buffed until I felt they were up to slick and aftershock worthy scratch too. Before wrapping things up, I spent a good half hour on a few select parts of the Porsche's leather, trim and glass, with Blask's interior oriented products, so I could officially say I got to grips with everything. First up was the Interior Cleanse number 7, a gentle yet effective all-in-one type cleaner that can safely be used on hard trim, soft leather and I guess traditionally upholstered surfaces too. Now, while it can of course be used as a standalone cleaner for routine maintenance or one-off deep cleans, I think it's best suited to preparing surfaces for a subsequent application of Blask's Interior Perfect product. But either way, I thoroughly worked it into both the new and old grain alike with a super soft detailed brush before methodically mopping up any foamy excess with a soft towel, to leave a perfectly smear and residue free finish even in the direct sun, which again wasn't ideal but at least made for some nice bright shots. I then followed up with the number 8 Interior Perfect product, which with its nano coating technology is designed to simultaneously protect and subtly replenish both hard and soft interior surfaces with relative ease. While I did spray it directly onto the surface in places, again just to get a good look at and feel for it, it's best indirectly worked over the surface with a towel to keep things as neat and tidy as they can realistically be. And what this stuff won't add in terms of sheen, as it's not a dressing, will leave in terms of invisible protection, which for a convertible like this that's technically exposed to more potentially damaging environmental contamination than that of an enclosed cabin, was perfect and meant that the owner needn't worry about getting caught short with his convertible pants down. Blask's number 10 Glass Perfect was the last of the 13 products in the lineup for me to get to grips with, and while I'm usually quite indifferent when it comes to glass cleaners, the fact this one contained a water repellent gave me a slick second win to help get the Porsche boxed off and aftershock ready. It was sprayed directly onto the surface, which, rightly or wrongly, I always do with glass I've not personally cleaned before. Spread over with a generic lint-free cloth to even it out and cut through any light grime, then buffed off with a traditional towel to remove any light residue and leave a nice crystal clear finish behind. And when you consider that you're essentially doing the same amount of work as you would be with a normal glass cleaner, using one like this that also leaves some protection behind on the surface that will ultimately help aid visibility by repelling rainwater and more quickly dispersing interior fog, for me is a no-brainer. And with the final part of this feature car simultaneously cleaned and protected in a single shebang, finished up so I could go on to conclude my thoughts for you. So overall I was quite impressed with the new Renault envisioned Blask range. I like the straightforward detailing by numbers approach and the brand's clean simple look, which is a refreshing change to a bunch of brightly coloured bottles all vying for attention. It's also great to see a traditional paste wax type product in a new lineup. And as nice as that was to use, if I had to pick an outright favourite, would go with the number 13 Sleek Perfect for its unparalleled levels of satisfactory slickness and shine. As with all new products, you should test each out on an inconspicuous area first. And unlike me, make sure you follow the directions as best you can. But however you choose to put them to use, they can all be had at discounted rates via the Amazon US links listed below. Plus, signing up for their newsletter at theblask.com will bag you a further 10% off your first purchase. So be sure to check them out, but not before seeing this one through with these final few aftershots.